Así que el siguiente panel vamos a conversar de un tema bien interesante, algo que quizás han escuchado en un par de paneles de discusión que tiene que ver con este concepto del on-ramp, off-ramp, concepto como estas rampas de poder conectar fiat con cripto, como también temáticas como DeFi y finanzas descentralizadas se interponen en el camino. Y para eso el siguiente panel se llama Los desafíos de los medios de pago y el on y off ramp de cripto. Es un panel que va a estar siendo moderado por Alejandro Beltrán, CEO de Buga.com en Colombia, Eduardo Abreu de Mastercard, Mario Guiluz de Ibex Mercado, Jeremy Almond de Paystand y Sebastian Villanueva de Coigo. Así que adelante. Cuando quieran suban nomás el escenario y los espero aquí arriba para que puedan partir el panel. ¿Don Alejandro, bien?
Sí, bien, muchas gracias.
Este panel vamos a hacerlo en inglés. Si es que alguien necesita, recuerden que hay traducción en simultáneo allá afuera, una cajita, así que pueden entrar rápidamente. Así que adelante.
Bueno, buenas tardes a todos y a todas y a todes. Todo lo que hacer. Como les comentó Cristóbal, vamos a tratar de hacer este panel en inglés. Tenemos a varios speakers que hoy en día crean sus ideas mejor en inglés o the translation is very hard to explain in terms of a discussion. So hello guys, it's great meeting you. Let's start with a brief introduction to your businesses and what is your vision in crypto. Well, MasterCard is not, we have no problem, but it's the fiat side of this kind of discussion. So please guys, brief introduction.
Awesome. Well, I'm Mario. I'm from Ibex. At Ibex, we believe that the rails of transactions of the future will be Lightning Network and Bitcoin. And we're building that so that in a way that we can make it very easy for traditional financial institutions or fintechs just to join the Lightning Network and transact as easy as if it were another MasterCard rail, just as a point. That's what we're doing. So, brief intro.
Awesome. So I run on Paystand, which is a business-to-business payment network. We're the largest on-chain enterprise payment network today. We do something like 700,000 businesses use the platform, $10 billion in payment volume. And our view is that changing the payment infrastructure has a material value on how businesses actually can transact. And so today, we help be the bridge for traditional enterprises that are using traditional infrastructure and helping them get on better, cheaper, faster, more efficient rails at scale. And because we believe blockchain is effectively the next cloud, and every company needs to be able to participate to be competitive in tomorrow's era.
Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, so my name is Sebastian. I'm the head of ramp of Coigo. We're basically an on and off ramp. What we do is that we enable businesses to accept local payments, and we are settling money in USDT or USDC. The vision of Coigo is to be the best financial suite in Latin America. That it.
And I'm Eduardo Abreu. I'm with MasterCard. You guys all probably know us as a payments network.
No. Please let me know about.
But in the crypto space, we've actually been in it for quite some time, and our vision is that this is going to be a hybrid world where you're going to see traditional finance connected with Web3 aspects, and given our position, our standing, our reach, our scope, we can be a bridge between the two worlds. We're about consumer choice. We're not here to pick one method over another. With consumer choice, it's allowing people to. With consumer choice, we're allowing people to spend their funds how they want, when they want, and in the fashion that they want. So if we can provide more security into this ecosystem, that is one of the things that we're also trying to do here. We have three principles when we think about anything with crypto, and that's stability, full regulatory compliance, because as I tell clients, it's if something is illegal in traditional finance, it's still going to be illegal in crypto. So you can use that as a guide. And lastly, it's about consumer protection. As a payment network with a long history, we are known for providing that protection. We want to bring that into this ecosystem where you sometimes see people are, let's say, a little bit scared of it based on what you see on the news.
So guys, I have some question that I know that Eduardo responds the first question that I have, because we have two sides of the payments, that the fiat side and the crypto side. So guys, what is this is a question for the crypto side. It's what is your company's commitment to the crypto world? I mean, I know that you guys mentioned Bitcoin and Lightning Network, but how do you see that is your biggest target right now? Because we are talking about the connection between payments, between fiat and crypto. So what is your purpose or your vision in terms of the cryptocurrencies that you are supporting?
Well, I think the first thing I want to say is there is no reason why any bank or any fintech or any company at this moment shouldn't be thinking about using some sort of crypto, or in our case, Bitcoin. It's so easy, it's much better, it's much faster. Of course, there are some, I would say, regulatory aspects that we need to fix and consider, but I think that's the first thing that we need to think. There's no reason why, right? We've all heard about the way people sometimes say that, you know, every company is a media company. I like to say that every company is a fintech company. They just don't know it. And we just make it so easy for any company to just become that fintech company that they're dreaming of. You know, making it easy for them to transact as with other, I would say, open companies. I'll give you an example. So if you want to transact with someone in Cash App and you have a Venmo, you can't do that right now. It's impossible to do because they are not speaking the same language. Well, you know what? We can do that with Lightning. Cash App already has Lightning, so it's very easy for us to just say, hey, what if we add Lightning rails to any other app? And they can speak to Cash App, and they can speak to Strike, and they can speak to Osmo in Guatemala. They can speak to the Baz app in Mexico. And as we add more and more of these user networks, the common language of value will be much easier to understand. And it just makes an open finance world so intriguing for us to just build with the traditional finance institutions. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, I agree with all that, but I'm going to say something that will be a little controversial. I discovered Bitcoin in 2010. We started the company in 2013. Seen these conferences for 14 years, and everybody's been basically saying the same thing, that blockchain is going to change how financial services happen. Question is, why has it not fully gotten there yet? And what I would say is, you need, my company starts and principally operates in Silicon Valley. We have a big Latam presence, but Silicon Valley companies that become the MasterCards of the world have to be massively better. And so there's this principle that if a company or a service is 10x better, that's really when it wins. You know, Netflix is 10x better than going and buying a DVD. Spotify is 10x better than going and like cassettes or whatever. And so I think the principal challenge here is the financial infrastructure for open finance based on blockchain and Bitcoin is 100x better than broken financial services. But this has to actually reach the real world. You have to have companies that actually experience real value. In our case, we generally put millions in dollars back on the bottom line for customers. In the consumer case, there are cases in El Salvador and others where it's radically reopening financial infrastructure. But at the end of the day, it has to be massively better. We can't keep talking about crypto and tokens and what rails are you built. Nobody freaking nobody cares. build something that's better, and the world will change. And so I think we're about, after 14 years in the space, I think we're almost getting there.
Nice. Okay, so you asked about the commitment we have to the crypto world. I think that we can describe this in just one word, adoption. So we are fully committed, and the crypto companies are one of the main customers we have. So we are helping all the crypto companies to improve the adoption, to expand the operation, so we can all use cryptos and we can all transform the fake money that we have right now in the pocket to a real currency, and vice versa. So that's why I can say that we are fully committed. We are helping crypto companies and non-crypto companies.
And my microphone doesn't work. I guess they don't want to hear from MasterCard. But that said, I mean, while we are very much a traditional payments network that everyone views, we're equally committed. Like you see our CEO talking with Forbes and others about the commitment to the space. All the initiatives we have, I mean, you're hiring a crypto native individual that's been in the space since 2017. That if you're not building that out, I don't know what shows commitment to it. And I agree with Jeremy's point about you need to have a better system and solution. And that's precisely why we're trying to, through some of our products, make those both more regulatory compliant, safer, because there are still a lot of hacks and scams, and make them interoperable, which is what Mario was getting for. That interoperability is definitely a barrier to adoption, because if you have 20 different standards, and then you have to then connect them to the existing legacy structure, because you do need to bring on board the next billion users. That interoperability is key. I mean, we announced a product about 2-3 months ago called Multi-Token Network. It's designed to be a secure and protected environment that helps bridge the gap between regulated financial institutions, which are probably the most regulated industry on the planet, with very innovative crypto companies. We had an innovation sprint for them to co-create solutions, and we had broad participation from both sides of the field. So we're creating these things that are focused on interoperability, scalability of transactions, identification, and consumer protection, and those guardrails. So if you're not viewing some of the things that we're doing designed to help bridge these gaps as commitment, then I think that's what main takeaway about our positioning here, that we're committed to the space, and we're committed to being that bridge, providing that trust, that security, and that protection.
Okay, that's very clear for us. Well, let's talk about the alliances, all the partnerships, the synergies that we have in this industry, because many companies, many crypto companies need to connect the traditional financial services. But I'm going to ask you guys in terms of how do you connect with the crypto space and how do you connect with the fiat world. So how do you establish, guys, strategic relationships with the traditional financial industry and the crypto industry as well, to connect your services to the crypto and the fiat world? Do you have any examples or any contribution or successful alliances that you want to mention? Let's start with Eduardo and then you last.
So on that point on alliances, that's key for this industry in my view. And it's not about competition. I think it's about co-opetition, because we're all working in the space. We're all cooperating, we're all competing. But along those lines, to your question about alliances, we find that very helpful alliances are when we can either provide a service that's missing to someone, or someone can provide a service that we're missing. And the best instances is where we partner to create new solutions that didn't exist previously, because you're approaching it from two different angles. So while we may not be viewed as crypto native, we are viewed as TradFi native. So we already have a lot of those relationships, and we can bring those to the table to the very crypto native, then we can have a better outcome. So well, if you want to talk about successful partnerships, I mean, we work with 60 of the leading crypto exchanges and wallets around the world. That's too many to name. But if you think about that, if you would have thought about that 5 years ago, or when I entered the space in 2017, that would have been anywhere in my mind that a company like MasterCard would be in that position.
So in fact, you have a crypto data company called CipherTrade. So actually, you are very actively in the industry.
Yes, we did buy CipherTrace in 2021, a crypto analytics company that does help you with know your transaction, know your token, on-chain analytics, on-chain identity. We have solutions to that are doing that with crypto credential, as well as solutions on identity, new data. You can validate someone based on how they hold their phone. You don't have to actually use their ID, but if you want to use their ID, we can also offer solutions for that as well.
Thank you, Eduardo. Please, Sebastian.
Okay, so as an on and off ramp, our main business is all about partnerships. I mean, we need rails, we need strategic partnerships so we can allow our customers to accept payments from local currency to crypto and vice versa. So I could give you probably 10 different examples, but that's what we do. I mean, we need those strategic alliances. If not, we cannot provide the best services that we are currently giving to our customers.
Jeremy, please.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I'm not very corporate-y, alliance, I'm trying to think about the word. Look, the crypto user experience is actually generally quite terrible, Lightning probably withstanding, but it's generally like not there yet. The way I actually think about partnerships is the product experience should be so good that some of the crypto stuff kind of goes away, and in that case, you need generally big partners. Again, I'll give kind of some backstory. You know, we work with many of the largest enterprises, think Anheuser-Busch, Suda, these kinds of folks. The enterprises generally don't experience, if I'm a CFO of a $10 billion company, I'm not sitting there like looking at what's going on at the cryptocurrency level. Like, I just want it to go away. What I want it to do is actually create massive, massive value. So our customers generally, they know that they're operating on a blockchain, but they experience, you know, their money going generally into treasury, most of the time back into a bank. We federate with 18,000 banks. We are the largest provider back in the US on the enterprise side. We have a corporate card that is the competitor to these guys, so I'm not gonna say it, but where it gives rewards back in Bitcoin, but the general corporate card is spent traditionally like any other corporate card. We power the back-end infrastructure of the largest JCB, which is the largest payment network out in Asia and Japan. But the behavior for the customers just operates like you'd expect it, a beautiful financial infrastructure. It's up to us in this room to go do back deals and blah, blah, blah to make the other stuff go away. And we got a long way to go in this industry, actually. So I think the good news is there's more openness to it. And I'm sure you guys are experiencing that all the time.
Jeremy, do you feel that in other countries that is not the United States? Because when we check Latin America, it's very, very different because you don't have a cool financial infrastructure. So I don't know if you see the difference or you see some needs in some countries to connect these rails between fiat and crypto, or you see that it's similar?
Yeah, actually probably the thing that's most exciting, it's actually one of the reasons why I'm in Latam and we're doing more business here. We acquired a company last year that's entirely based in Latin America. In the US and what I'd call mature markets, the infrastructure actually has to be behind the scenes because the customers generally have mostly operable financial infrastructure and financial services. So companies like us actually, we put a lot of the blockchain work behind the scenes. What's particularly exciting in Latin America is I actually think blockchain is more front and center. Places like El Salvador, places like Venezuela, like it's actually happening where there's actually more use directly in front. And so the behavior is different. I've been sending our executives down here in Latin America to see what I'd almost call the frontier of where I actually think fintech is going. The analogy I'd give is the cell phone analogy. So I'm kind of old in tech, and I remember when mobile phones started getting deployed, and one of the things that happened was you had a lot of mobile phone providers in the US that had next-gen infrastructure, but they were replacing relatively working telephone infrastructure. But then if you went to places like Asia or in Africa, the mobile phone usage grew super, super fast there because they weren't really replacing anything. It was going straight to the next-gen technology. And so the way they rolled out very differently. And so I almost think of blockchain very similar to mobile phone. It's gonna eat everything, but it's doing it differently in emerging markets than it is in a mature market like the US or Europe. So,
I think, when I think about the relationships that we need to build from, I would say, the Bitcoin space, right? I think about a few that are super important. One of them is obviously banks, right? We need to go through banks, and that is a huge problem, or I would say not a problem, it's a challenge.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. Bitcoin fixes this, right? So, the thing is, we need to have a good relationship with banks. We need to have a good relationship with regulators and governments, and that's another big one that we're learning as much as we can. And I would say that we also need to have a great relationship, and you guys kind of touched upon it. I love the way Sebastian put it. This is still an adoption game, so we need a good partnership with the users. The end users have to guide what the experience really has to look like and what it has to feel like. I think that's super important that we start thinking of, because and we're all users here. That's a good thing. We all know what we want to see better, what we want to improve, how we want to use this product. But I mean, sometimes the way we think we want to use this product is not necessarily the way regulation has worked, because regulation is moving so slow that really we're like, as a group, as a population, we are pushing the limits as if it were Uber, right? Like, and the Uber case is a great example, right? When Uber was happening, it was growing exponentially. You had countries trying to block it, trying to regulate it, or even municipalities trying to stop it. And I don't think anyone here is, a fan of, using the old technology, the taxi cab, because it's so much better, right? We're happy using Uber because it's that much better. That's the way I think about how we need to look at the experience and the alliances and the way it needs to work, right? We need to, as Eduardo put it, how is it, co-what?
Co-opetition.
Co-opetition. We need to co-compete, right? So that's the idea of what we should be doing again as an industry.
Sure. You mentioned one thing.
Can I say just one thing? I totally agree with the problem that you mentioned, the relationship with the banks. That's why we're here. We can help you solve that problem.
You guys, in terms of the adoption, you see that it's just time, or you see that the adoption requires another technologies or infrastructure that maybe we can accelerate to this kind of adoption, or it's just like internet that it's just time that maybe it happens?
Well, I think we can look at this from several perspectives, right? The easiest path to adoption is practically using the existing networks and turning them to whatever we're doing, right? So that's the approach that we at Ibex are doing. We're focusing on going to banks, going to apps that already have, hundreds of thousands, millions of users, and just trying to implement Lightning there, and then have just by having the ability to interconnect, to interoperate, then we think that usage will happen. But I do think like the space, the crypto space, has also been neglected in some sense by a lot of the, I would say, large capital allocators. And I think if capital really pushes in the way it should to the crypto space, then I would say we could see much more adoption, especially here in Latin America. I would love to see more huge Bitcoin companies getting funding.
If you permit me to jump in, I'd actually say that part of it's still education, because we're not doing ourselves any favor with some of the terminology we use, first and foremost, with some of the user base. And I think a lot of it's to the fact that it does need to have a better user experience. It does need to fade into the background. Yep. So one of the things that we do is we have crypto card programs. So when a user that has crypto and is spending with their MasterCard to buy their coffee, buy their lunch, they're spending their crypto and they don't necessarily have to go in and spend it. That makes it easier to use. So that's part of our strategy. We can go into it later, but I think it's education and the fact that it just makes it so much more simple.
Yeah, so I think the user experience is a big part of it, but I also think, as much as financial services or incumbents will get beat up sometimes, they have a big role. But the other big role, I hope all of you guys that are here are working or about to work at some blockchain company. Because I would say the biggest thing that people in the audience can do is actually go participate in the change. I remember I was at the first startup in the late 90s in tech, and I remember all my friends in California basically were engineering school and they dropped out to go work at some tech company. And most of the ideas, it was like e-commerce for dogs or something like that. Became like a real thing later, but most of them failed. But the ideas were kernels of things that became kind of world-changing. And you had these companies that started becoming what I'd call the anchor or the beachhead of what the world was to be. And so how did you get e-commerce real? You had a bookstore called Amazon that actually created better online buying of books than going to the normal store. And then they just expanded that to commerce all over, and now they power the commerce of the internet. You had Google, and you had these great companies that actually had to make this stuff real. So I would say, I hope many of you are in this room are doers. Go make it real, because it's not going to actually happen. I run a boring company, but our view is that the internet had to become real for businesses, and so that was a company called Salesforce. It's now kind of drives the enterprise adoption in the world. There needs to be a Salesforce of the blockchain world. We think we hopefully can be part of that. We'll be hopefully the first company to go public in that space. But you need a bunch of these. You need these massive success stories with amazing products, with amazing people that are actually moving the world forward, because the world doesn't move forward just on its own. You got to go do it.
Okay, so as we don't have much time, you ask about regulation. I think it's a thing of time, effort, and willingness of the regulator to regulate this, because I used to work in a different company a few months ago, and I was doing the sandbox process here in Colombia, so I know you were part too. We know that...
That was terrible, but...
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, it was so terrible. So we need a serious conversation with the regulator so they can know how and why to regulate this.
Well, guys, the panel is called The Challenge of Payment Methods and the Off and Off Ramps in Crypto. So let's talk about the products. Let's talk about the crypto payment process or system have become more popular. We checked that in 2022, how cryptocurrency payments in retail grew by 63%. And when you have a bear market, it's very hard to explain how the people are increasing the payment process. So one of the things, very, very quick for you guys, is how do you view the trend of user paying in crypto while merchants also receive crypto without fears of the market volatility? That is one of the high qualities of Bitcoin. So how do you see how can we find out if you are developing any products of non-crypto users? That is one of the challenges that we have in this industry.
So I'll go first. I got the microphone. So look, we have a 5-pillar strategy on building products for crypto, and it runs the whole gamut. Very quickly, the first one is facilitating flows. We spend a lot of time working with acquirers and merchants to make sure that they're coding transactions properly so that the issuers receive them and there's acceptance. Plain and simple, on-ramp, you can use your card, buy your crypto. Crypto cards I mentioned, off-ramp. Plain and simple. Then secondly, we have services to secure, because not everyone is looking for the payment. So we have the cipher trace, we have analytics, we have other services. More crypto natively, we have a few products under development for the third pillar of our strategy, which is bringing crypto onto our rails. So that kind of deals with the elements of how do you pay with it or not. So we are working with stablecoins, CBDCs, and others. Fourth is the protected environment that we mentioned earlier, where MTN crypto credential, and fifth and last is the NFT and metaverse. We also have a startup accelerator, which has worked with 31 companies to help them get into the ecosystem, accelerate. And we've nurtured 31 companies in that fashion. And then to your point, Jeremy, about helping people build and bring in that perspective of what's needed, we sponsored something called the Bell Block last year that's designed to bring in more women and non-binary individuals to bring those perspectives and those voices to the ecosystem. So again, it's about bringing in that diversity of viewpoint and building along all these pillars to provide the gamut, because not everyone's just doing payments, but it sure helps if we can support them in their journey.
Okay, I think I have two different answers here. One is representing Koiwe, so we're happy to help companies that are doing on and off ramps, and in this case, off ramps. We're happy to help more companies if they want to do this, but representing myself, I can say that adoption is so important, but right now, I wouldn't be spending my cryptos, not in a bear market.
This is real, guys.
Yeah. Total. Yeah, I mean, look, I think we've all talked about it. It's important for companies like us to make on-ramps and off-ramps. The biggest companies are doing that. That's what we do. It's what everybody's doing. To get to the world we want, we have to build bridges. So,
I would say we kind of solved the volatility problem using Lightning. You know, the idea is you can receive Bitcoin at a specific price, and you receive it so fast, you receive it instantaneously, that we are able to just guarantee the price at which it was received, right? We receive it, we sell it, we pay the merchants, and that's what we solved in El Salvador when they made Bitcoin legal tender. That's how we got, you know, the Starbucks of El Salvador and Pizza Hut and all these great chains to really start using payments and convince themselves that it is possible, right? You could buy a cup of coffee and not wait 10 minutes, which is the original way of thinking of why Bitcoin wasn't the best way. Now Lightning solves this, and that's the way we did it.
yeah, maybe I'd like to end on that, because even though we're probably one of the largest by volume users of Ethereum, I actually think the most interesting thing that's going on in the blockchain space is actually Lightning. I had an experience where I took my head of architecture down to El Salvador right when Lightning got deployed. And there was this really funny moment where this guy's been working on blockchain products for, 13 years at probably one of the most scaled companies in space. He walks through the passport line, and he's expecting like something weird or clunky or whatever. And the passport officer just looks at him and said, like, scan your fucking QR code. and he was so surprised that it was that easy. And so what I would say is there are emerging infrastructure now that is so much better than everything else. And everyone in the audience and everybody online that's watching in Latam should be super excited, because I sit in, and I'm sure the MasterCard team does this too, I sit with the CEOs in Silicon Valley of the largest companies in financial services, in the largest public tech companies. And they talk about all the cool fintech unicorns, blah, blah, blah. You know, we're lucky to be one. But quite frankly, they think all the innovation's happening there. And what I tell them over and over again is if you're a public company CEO of one of the hottest companies in the world, and you think financial infrastructure innovation's happening in Silicon Valley, you're wrong. Go to Latin America, go to El Salvador, and you actually will see where the world is going, because that's actually where the frontier of where the world changes is. So that's the exciting thing about what's going on here. Crypto price be damned.
Well, guys, also I'm so excited because it's my first panel in the English version as moderator. But one last question about Lightning, that is one of the greatest technologies in terms of the scalability of Bitcoin. So what do you guys think about Lightning and the future of Lightning Network? Is there competition for payment processors, or you think that it's a complement for their businesses because it's very, very transformative?
As I mentioned before, we're about consumer choice. And if that's a rail we want to use, and we can help secure it in some way, shape, or form, help it be more interoperable, help it have more acceptance, or whether it's crypto credential to have more verifiability of the individuals and de-risk those transactions, we've actually spoken to the team at Lightning. So the way we view it is that consumer choice, and we have services we can provide it, why can't we partner?
I think this question is not for me or my company, but what I can say is that we're exploring more opportunities, and if there's a company who needs on or off ramps, we can settle the money via Lightning. I think that's the best thing we can do.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is blockchain's been proven. You've probably seen a bunch of talks. It's a great ledger. It's immutable. It's decentralized. It's incredible financial infrastructure. It's incredible smart contracts. Bitcoin is an incredible store of value. I think it's probably the biggest invention in our lifetime. Lightning is fascinating because it takes it from a ledger to a store of value to the best transaction engine in the world. If you have any questions about this, what I'd say is watch the recent documentary in Cuba on lightning transactions completely outside of the financial network. It will blow your mind. And if it's happening there, it's going to start spreading everywhere.
I would say it's amazing to see the growth of Lightning. There are some studies that show that it is growing faster in adoption than the internet, or it is similar in some sense. I would love to see everyone here just have a Lightning wallet, or even better, that you guys don't even need to know that you're using Lightning and start transacting. And that's what we think is going to end up happening, right? It's just such a better rail for us to communicate and send value. You'll probably, your bank will probably add Lightning and you won't even know about it. And that's the way we're gonna see it. So what I'm saying, and the phrase is buy Bitcoin, I'm saying use Bitcoin. And I think that's smart. It's a smart way of looking at it.
Well, to be honest and to be modest, by the way, in Moderado.com, we were the first one of the exchanges to implement and integrate and support Lightning Network. So if you guys don't know about Lightning Network, please check all the information that we have in Lightning Network. Thank you guys for this panel, and well, please un aplauso por favor para ellos.